The Africa continent is said to be the most linguistically diverse continent of the world. The African Union therefore created the African Academy of Languages, ACALAN, as its specialized institution to transform this language diversity to serve as a factor for African integration and development. ACALAN is the official institution mandated to develop and promote African languages and to provide technical support to member states for the formulation and implementation of language policies and strategies of language development and use. ACALAN officially launched the African Languages Week in Ouagadougou in collaboration with the government of Burkina Faso in July 2021. The launch of the African Languages Week was in line with its adoption by the Third Specialized Technical Committee on Youth, Culture and Sport of the African Union in October 2018 in Algiers, Algeria, on the proposal of the Executive Secretariat of the African Academy of Languages. It is a pathway of realizing Agenda 2063 of the African Union, specifically Aspiration 5, that promotes an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values and ethics, and that the theme of the celebration for 2022 was determined to be African languages, levers for building the Africa we want.
This celebration, the African Languages Week, is a continental and annual event, and we're therefore urging all member states of the African Union, all Africans, and Africans in the diaspora to participate, to take part in the activities of the week. This is because language is one of the most important parts of any culture. It is the way by which people communicate with one another, build relationships, and create a sense of community. Communication is a core component of our society, and language is an important aspect of that.
The African Languages Week Coordinating Committee was thus established by the Executive Secretariat of ACALAN as a standing committee with a tenure of 5 years, renewable only once, adhering as much as possible to the African Union gender parity policy from the 6 regions of the organization, that is, Central, East, North, Southern, West African, and the diaspora. The main role of the committee is to stimulate more dynamism for the development and promotion of African languages across the African continent and in the African diaspora by assisting ACALAN in the annual celebration and to ensure the smooth running of the activities of the African Languages Week by proposing the theme for each year and mobilizing resources, human, technical and financial, for planning and organizing the activities of the week throughout the continent and in the diaspora, in collaboration with national language structures in the member states serving as ACALAN's national focal institutions.
Celebrating the African Languages Week, it's a very important milestone for the African Union, especially as we implement activities related to the AU theme of the year for 2021, Arts, Culture and Heritage, levers for building the Africa we want. Language is power, and African languages are more powerful since they represent our heritage, history, shared values, and identity. During the celebration of African Languages Week 2022, we call upon all stakeholders, all African citizens, to join ACALAN, the African Academy of Languages, in its celebration. Especially, we call upon artists, young people, and cultural workers to really play a key role in disseminating messages related to the promotion of African languages. Happy African Languages Week. Amandla. Asante. Kanimambu. Obrigada.
It is within this context that ACALAN is organizing the inaugural African Languages Week to provide an opportunity to showcase and promote African languages and cultures across Africa and the African diaspora from 24th to 30th January 2022 and to deliberate on accelerating the realization of Agenda 2063.
The main objective of this inaugural edition of the African Languages Week is to increase awareness and appreciation of African languages by looking at pragmatic ways of empowering them and rendering them relevant to the lives of Africans.
Promotes the dynamics of African worldviews and philosophies of life through the empowerment and use of African languages, demonstrates the indispensable role of African languages in the integration and sustainable peace and development of Africa by putting them under the spotlight all through January 24 to 30 and using the period as a window to celebrate and reflect on African languages. The African Languages Week is also geared towards taking stock on how African languages are faring in the world of global languages so as to see where we stand in our language development endeavors. It is also a way of developing linguistic cooperation and exchange and assessing the necessary and vital work of developing the languages and the work that still needs to be done. The commemoration will also determine ways and means of making African languages more functional, acceptable, and part of the development discourse of Africans and African global citizenship.
Language is ultimately important because it is the primary means through which humans have the ability to communicate and interact with one another. Language is obviously a vital tool because it is not only a means of communicating thoughts and ideas, but it also forges friendships, cultural ties, and economic relationships.
Citizenship. Various activities are designed around marking the African Languages Week 2022. ACALAN's working structures in the AU member states will be expected to play a leading role in this regard. Members of the African Languages Week Coordinating Committee, policymakers, resource persons, experts in African languages, and key stakeholders will take part in the activities. Representatives of the various departments and directorates of the African Union Commission and African Union member states will also participate. Representatives of the Assembly of Academicians of ACALAN, members of ACALAN Secretariat and working structures, as well as members of the African diaspora and institutions of culture and languages worldwide. Following the launch of the week, meetings will take place on 25th and 26th of February in virtual plenaries and breakout sessions owing to the COVID pandemic to chart the path forward. Participants who are experts in the various domains will make presentations on best practices, lessons learned, and make suggestions on the way forward.
We wish you all a happy African Languages Week. African languages for a peaceful, prosperous, integrated, and healthy Africa. Asante sana.